Recording in progress.
Let's lead the way, lighten the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam. Revelation and reason, we shall excel, we shall prevail. Merging faith and knowledge, we the Khalifa, we will fulfill the Amana. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of warahmatullahi. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of mercy to all the worlds for mankind.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaykum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Let's start our session with the recitation of Kitab Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa bihi nasta'in, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Professor Dr. Ahmad Faris Ismail, Deputy Rector, Academic and Internationalization of IIUM, Professor Dr. Rusni Hassan, Dean of IIUM Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance. She will be joining us soon, inshallah. She's in the PhD Viva session. Our distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Selena Kassim. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome to the IIUM Professorial Talk 2021 from wherever you are joining us today. My name is Hazizi. I'll be moderating the session for today, inshallah. To get his blessing, let me invite Dr. Habibullah Zakaria to recite a dua. Please welcome Dr. Habibullah.
Thank you, Dr. Azizi. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العلى الذي إذا دعيت به أجبت وإذا سئلت به أعطيت أن تجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما يا رب العالمين. اللهم بارك لنا في هذه المحاضرة واجعلها طريقا لنيل العلم الصحيح والعمل الصالح. اللهم اشرح صدر المحاضرة الأستاذة الدكتورة سلينا حاج قاسم واحلل عقدة من لسانها حتى نفقه قولها واجعلنا يا رب ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل هذه الجامعة جامعتنا هذه بما فيها معهد المصرفية والمالية الإسلامية منارا للهدى ووفق اللهم رئيسها ومديرها وأمدائها ووكلائها وكل مسؤوليها لما فيه صلاح الدين يا رب العالمين. اللهم ارفع عنا البلاء والوباء وجميع الأسقام يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل هذا البلد آمنا مطمئنا رخاء سخاء وسائر بلاد المسلمين. اللهم آمنا في أوطاننا وأصلح أئمتنا وولاة أمورنا واجعل ولايتنا لمن خافك واتقاك واتبع رضاك يا رب العالمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. توفنا مسلمين والحقنا بالصالحين. وصلى اللهم وسلم على عبدك نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. آخر دعوانا الحمد لله.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alameen. Brothers and sisters, today we are honored to have Prof. Salina with us. We have an opportunity to listen to her. She will be speaking on Islamic finance, financial inclusion, and economic empowerment, a topic that could set a new direction for the industry moving forward, inshallah. I can see that we have a high attendance today. We have hundreds over registered for this session. And so far we have 88 people watching with us. So this high number actually reflects the influence or the magnetism that Prof. Selena has. To me, she's like a rock star in academic, always have a massive crowd following her, cheering for her, inshallah. But before we listen to her, let me invite Prof. Ahmad Faris to give his welcoming remark. Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Wassalam, warahmatullahi.
We're ready for you, Prof.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Nazrul Hazizi. Respected colleagues, Professor Dr. Salina, who is our distinguished speaker for this morning. Of course, my colleague also, Professor Rusni, the Dean of IIIBF, professors, lecturers, also, of course, postgraduate students of the Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance, as well as guest participants from all over the world. So let us first praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. So on behalf of the university, the top management of the university, we would like to congratulate the Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance for organizing this auspicious and very meaningful, important event, the Professorial Talk 2021. Indeed, this is also in conjunction with our celebration of the Academia Month for the whole month of October, because we would like to have this more intellectual discourse, academic culture as well as exchange of ideas in this supposed to be a very intellectual month. I would like to, of course, to congratulate Professor Salina, just like mentioned by Dr. Nazrul just now. A rock star, I think she is also listed in one of the prominent person in Islamic banking, in the world, all right? And of course, she was also the former dean of the Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance. Congratulations, Prof. Salina. So today, I think we would like to hear from you the new direction, how to move forward this field of Islamic finance. Okay. And indeed, this is very much relevant to the Sejahtera academic framework that I think our university has launched and has adopted now in order for us to move forward in terms of our education at International Islamic University Malaysia. Under this Sejahtera academic framework, we are talking about humanizing education through transformative education with values and wisdom. I think that is the part that I think we would like to learn from our scholars, like Professor Salina this morning. The values, the wisdom, the tacit knowledge that we're talking about. We're talking about sharing of real experience that maybe we cannot find in the textbook. Okay, but I think based on our experience and observation, I think we can move forward better in many fields of studies. And indeed, this COVID-19 pandemic, I think is a challenge to all of us. But I would say that maybe it's a blessing in disguise for the field of Islamic finance, where maybe it is a time for us to reset the direction of the Islamic finance. I mean, because one of our observation is that we learn from this COVID-19 is how, many of our system, Islamic economic, not Islamic, I'm talking about the world, the Western system of economy, system of banking, system of finance. I think sometimes, cannot support the need of the humanities. Especially in the poor country. We see the vaccination divide, and then the divide between the poor and the rich, and then the divide between the developed country and not so developed. I think that there is. I would say that I am very optimistic looking at our Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance with the many projects and research that we have conducted. I think it's a time. During this reset time, this talk is very timely, where maybe I think we can provide an alternative solution, which is more just and more equitable and, of course, inclusive for all the humanities. As a matter of fact, a few days ago, I was talking to our colleagues in economics, and one of the things that we discussed is maybe one of the main problem of the humanities at large right now is because I think the way that especially people in the developed rich country live, where they are over consuming, meaning that they take more than what they require. So as a result, I think they are a lot of wasting, and maybe this is because of the paradigm of economics, where we are always talking about growth, more profitability every year. Disregarding the quality of life, and then of course the environment, so on and so forth. So because of that paradigm, maybe I'm not sure. Maybe based on our values, our maybe Islamic principles and teaching, where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala do not ask us to waste. For example, do not become people who wasting. In all aspects of time. Maybe I think we should go back that maybe the people, one way is to go back to the fundamental and just take whatever that they require without, luxury or over consumption, over producing. and at the time, and as a result, I think we are wasting a lot of the resources that we have. I think so. I guess this talk is very timely, and I would like to congratulate the Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance. I look forward to more professorial talks, because I know that in your institute there are many professors, good professors, well-known scholars and professors that I think we should share the expertise, the ideas, and hopefully also at the end of the day, by having this type of event, we can promote networking. I can see the banner behind me. I mean, you have a lot of good partners. Maybe we have to double or triple the number of partnership. I think that is the way forward. We have to work together. We have to exchange the ideas, and we have to really sit down and think about what is the best solution to solve many complex problems facing the humanities, inshallah. So with that, again, I would like to congratulate Professor Dr. Salina for this special talk, and also the Institute for organizing this event. Thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaykum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaykum salam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. for the remarks and also the wish. Prof. One thing I realized that having a virtual meeting like this nowadays, we don't do hand clapping anymore, right? So, and we kind of miss doing that. So here are my proposal. So this is my proposal. So why not all of us unmute ourselves, right? And then we wish Prof. Salina together. Join me to give a big round of applause to Prof. Salina. So can we do that? Can we agree on that? Okay. So we do that in a count of 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, Prof. All right. And I think this beautiful moment will not be complete without having a photo session together, right? So let's all of us have a group photo session. We have Brother Zulhimi here to help us to take a photo, inshallah. So you may turn on your camera right now. Brother Zul, are you here?
Yes.
Yes. Can you make the count this time?
Boleh, inshallah. We have about 5 pages. Okay, so take some time. Okay, so please open your video first. Okay. Okay, now for the first page. Okay, stand by. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait for a while for the first page. Okay, next for the second page. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the third page. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, then fourth page. Okay, stand by. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the last page, stand by. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have 104 participants. Thank you very much. Okay, Doctor, pass to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. So now allow me to read the profile of our speaker today. So I think a piece of paper is not enough. I think probably need a book to describe her achievement. So let me just read her profile briefly. Dr. Selena Kasim is currently a professor at the IIUM Institute of Banking and Finance. She received her PhD in monetary economics in 2006 from IIUM and her master and bachelor degree from the USA in 1992 and 1994 respectively. Prior to becoming an academician, she has several years of working experience as a senior executive at the Economics and Corporate Planning Division of a commercial bank in Malaysia. Having nearly 30 years of experience in academia, she has published widely in index peer-reviewed academic journal with more than 150 articles in the area of her research interest. Prof. Salina sits on the editorial board of several international and local journals. She has also published several books in the area of Islamic finance. In April 2021, her book entitled Islamic Financial System, Theory and Practice won the prestigious Anugerah Buku Negara or National Book Award. The same book was awarded the book award during the IIUM Takrim Day in July 2021. In terms of supervision, currently she is supervising and has supervised close to 100 PhD and master's candidates. She also served as internal and external examiner of master and PhD theses in several universities. In 2019, she was appointed as adjunct professor at the Universitas Airlangga, Surabaya in Indonesia for the period between January and 2019. So please welcome Professor Dr. Selena Haji Kassim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Thank you very much, Brother Moderator. Dr. Nazul Hazizi was once my student. He was an excellent student. He scored, I think, almost perfect in the final exam of my Islamic financial system class. So I was so impressed that I requested him to help me in drafting my textbook, The Islamic Financial System. So I'm very happy that he is moderating my professorial talk today. Respected Professor Ahmad Faris Ismail, the Deputy Rector, Academic and Internationalization. Thank you, Prof, for being here. You have always been aspiring. Prof. Rusni Hassan, the Dean of IIBF, professors, colleagues from IIBF and from various kuliah of the IIUM, respected guests, friends from the academia and the industry, several from the Islamic banks, from Malaysia and other parts of the world. Also my beloved students, past and present. I saw someone from Mauritania was among the first who actually entered the session just now. So I'm not sure what's the time over there. Thank you for being here. And all who are attending this professorial talk, Alhamdulillah, all praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to gather here today. Thank you, Prof. Faris' office for initiating the professorial talk session. And special thanks to the IIBF team, especially Sister Haslina Osman, for her relentless efforts in ensuring the smooth running of this program. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all. Truly, I feel humbled by the overwhelming attendance of this professorial talk today. As all of us academicians know, sometimes we travel the world. We travel to various parts of the world for talks, conferences, and workshops. And the time given to us to discuss issues of concern is, well, perhaps maximum 30 to 40 minutes if you're lucky. And most of the time, it will be around 15 to 20 minutes plus 5 minutes for Q&A. But today, mashallah, really being given the whole session to share my views on matters that concern me most is a priceless and beautiful moment, which I will always treasure. And truly, I feel blessed. Alhamdulillah. Thank you all for being here today, for taking the time out of your busy schedule, not just to listen, but also, inshallah, to deliberate on a very important topic of Islamic finance, financial inclusion, and economic empowerment. Let me share my screen now. So I hope you can see my screen. Brother Dr. Hazizi, is the screen?
It's not there yet, Prof.
Okay, let me So I should have share my content, the screen, and start broadcasting.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, is there?
Okay. All right. Thank you. So as many of you might have known, my work on the finance economy and nexus, or specifically the contribution or the significance of the financial sector to the economy have started from the early stage of my career. Okay. And in fact, the textbook that I have been written are actually on the financial system and its contribution to the economy or the real economy. Now, having the background of economics, I have always viewed the economy from a general perspective of the circular flow model. Okay, the circular flow model. The circular flow model is actually a very simplified version of the complex working of the economy. How is it simplify the economy? It categorizes the economic units into two. One is the household, where the household will be the consumer, and the businesses, the other one is the businesses, where the businesses will be the producers. So in economics, the working of the economy, the basic two function of the economy is consuming and producing, whereby household will consume and businesses or producers will produce. And as you can see in the circular flow model, in all the economic endeavor, let it be consumption or production, it will be supported by the financial flow. As you can see here, the goods flow from the household to the businesses happen in the resource market. And by producing those resources to the businesses, businesses would have to pay for it. Thus, you can see here the financial flow. Okay, and that will be income to the household. And what the income and what household will do with that income, it will spend in the product market as consumers and incur expenditure to buy goods and services in the product market, and that will be paid to the businesses as a revenue. So clearly you can see that any economic endeavor would require the support of the financial resources. Therefore, from the economic perspective, when we talk about the working of the economy, it will be supported by four economic resources: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurial ability. And if we were to zoom into the role of capital here, you can see that money or financial capital is always there, playing an important role in the economic activity. So you can see in terms of capital, here we have capital, and another one we have capital formation. Okay, now the situation is that even though we can say that the more capital an economy has, the better it will be in terms of creating more economic activity, the more important issue to consider is how much or how efficient can we actually generate the financial capital through saving. So capital formation is a more important thing here. Okay, so accumulating saving is important, but more importantly, not just how much saving or financial capital that we accumulate, the more important thing is how we mobilize the saving. Okay, and by efficiently mobilizing the saving, that will actually create a more capital formation in the form of investment, and it will result in greater productivity of resources, not just physical capital, but other economic resources as well. Okay, so an issue arises here with regard to the capitalistic point of view in terms of financial capital. The Islamic view on the importance of combining financial capital with physical capital in a way tend to be contradictory with the current widespread practice of capitalist economy that accumulates money by the owner of financial capital without engaging him in striving in real production activities. And this could result in a dysfunctional economic imbalance characterized by a rapid expansion of money or credit against a slower growth of real output. This mismatch between the supply of money and growth in output, driven by the motivation of maximizing returns by the owners of financial capital, has resulted in, first of all, inflation, okay, increase in the general price level, and very frequently, if inflation were to continue, it results in economic bubbles, asset and economic bubbles, and that could result in a frequent phenomenon in the contemporary modern economies, which is economic crisis. More worryingly, we see that the pursuit of self-interest by the owner of financial capital, without the intention to actually combine it with other economic resources and therefore meaningfully contribute to the real economy, results in the widening income inequality, which leads to various social problems. Consequently, the financial sector, from the Islamic economics perspective, performs a critical function as a catalyst of real economic activities, spurring job opportunities, generating income and wealth for all levels of the society, resulting in the attainment of equitable income and economic justice, the noble objective of Islamic economics. But what we see today, so I'm bringing you to the issue that are plaguing not just a particular country, but the whole world. What you see in front of you here is the global pyramid of wealth. And what we have here, this essentially shows the overview of global wealth distribution in the year 2020. It's quite recent data. And even though, say, for example, I produced, in the 1990s or in the 1970s, you would continue to see this issue of the global pyramid of wealth, where essentially it shows the acute income in 11 billion, as well as 56 million here, and 583 million here. They are being categorized into the level of their annual income, okay, or wealth range. So you can see about 55% of the total adults, okay, in the world, 55% or 2.9 billion out of the 7.9 billion in the category of what we call the BOP. This is the BOP. What is the BOP? The BOP is the bottom of the economic pyramid. Okay, and here logically is the MOP, and here is the top. Okay, so we have the BOP, the MOP, and the top, where it's the bottom of economic pyramid, the middle of the economic pyramid, and the top of the economic pyramid. Okay, so we see that majority of the people or total population falls under the bottom of the economic pyramid, 55%. And then we have 32% in the middle class here, Okay. And then we also have just 11.1% at the top of the pyramid. And we also have the super rich where it falls under the tip of the top, I call it. So this is the tip of the top, and that actually accounts for 56 million or 1.1%. Just 1% of the total population are in the tip of the top, the super rich, the super wealthy. Okay, so we see acute income inequality where majority, again, I'm saying this, okay, a majority of 55, more than 50% of the total world population falls under the bottom or the poor category. Okay, so if it's at the bottom of the economic pyramid, these are under the hardcore poor. They live under $2 US dollars per day. And we start to ask the question, how can people or how they can survive if it's on average $2 per day. Okay, so even though we talk about the various noble objective of the Islamic economics, we also see acute income inequality in the Muslim nations. Okay, a major objective of Islamic economics is to achieve economic equality, like what I have mentioned just now, fair distribution of income, and a reduction in income gap. Okay, so if I go back to this global pyramid of wealth, various economic development agenda is being instituted over the years, but we see that there is still a very widening, it's actually widening gap between the poor here and the rich up here. Okay, so in other words, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And because of the COVID, what we experience is the disappearance of the middle class. So in other words, we are having more people who fall under the poverty line because of the COVID, and there are also people who are actually getting richer due to the COVID. Very recently, just a side note, the owner of Shopee has just being added into the list of the tip of the top. And that is happening because of the increase in online shopping among the people, among the consumers due to the COVID-19 situation. So that is the situation. So we are very concerned. However, reality today is that income inequality is acute in many Muslim countries. So there tends to be an irony. The objective of Islamic economics is to reduce the income gap, but we see that acute inequality they're happening in many of the Muslim countries, and based on a recent studies, 50% of the world poverty is happening in the Muslim countries, although total Muslim populations form only 24%. So where do things go wrong here? So one of the reasons as to why the poor cannot graduate or break the poverty trap is because they do not have access to finance. Remember, based on the simplified circular flow model, in all economic endeavor, it has to be supported by the financial resources. Okay, even to embark on economic activity, it has, the resources, capital, physical capital, labor, and so on would have to be combined with financial capital, or else those resources, not just the money capital is not productive, but the physical capital will also not be productive. Someone with labor, someone with entrepreneurial skill, if it is not being combined, if this entrepreneurial skill is not being combined with financial capital, the idea will remain an idea. So it cannot result in a productive economic activity. Now, a study, therefore, those at the bottom of the economic pyramid are being categorized as unbankable. Okay, and why are they unbanked? According to the global Fintech, it shows that three quarter of the world poor do not have a bank account. Okay? This is just one of the indicators of financial inclusion. The poor, they are being excluded from the mainstream financial services. They do not have a financial access. Now, why do the poor do not have financial access? Because they are lack of two things that are being required by the mainstream finance. One, they are lack of collateral. The poor do not have collateral. And number two, they do not have steady income. Okay, and in fact, the steady income is being considered as, in the eyes of the banks, it is being considered as a collateral as well. Okay, so a study by the Global Fintech here, you can see it is part of an agency of the World Bank. The Global Financial Inclusion Index shows gaps in financial inclusion across demographics, with women, the poor, okay, here, income, based on income, youth in terms of age, rural residents, as well as those without education are at the greatest disadvantage. In other words, there are discrimination in terms of access to finance with women, those living in the rural area, those with, of course, the poor with with low level of income, those poorly educated, as well as youth are being discriminated, are being considered or categorized as unbankables. So how do they improve their economic standing? How do they make their economic resources that they have? For example, if they have land, most of the people in the rural area, they could have land, and all of them would have their labor resources, but because there is no financial capital to be combined with their readily available resources, so they remain as unproductive as economic resources. Okay, so therefore you see this is very common. When I was browsing through the internet and I saw this, and it straight away sparked my memory on the first week that I went to the US, and I saw this. So this is very common, not just in the developed countries, not just in the developing or the poor nation, but also in the developed countries. And these are a real situation. I've seen this in the first week that I went to the US during my undergraduate study. People, the homeless, they stand near the traffic light and they hold up this placard, need work, will work for food. And this is very common. Okay, so so therefore, the essence of Islamic finance is that upholding the essence of Islamic finance is the key to solving the inequality issues. Okay, so I would like to highlight upholding the essence of Islamic finance can help to solve the inequality issues. Now, money, okay, or financial capital by itself is not productive unless it exchanges or being combined with other economic resources. Money is just an instrument of transfer and not an objective by itself. And financial capital therefore provide the required funding for other economic resources to be actively mobilized, okay, resulting in the realization of creative ideas by entrepreneurs, so that physical capital can be put into productive purposes, whereby various opportunities are being created to employ the various economic resources. And combination of, okay, Yeah, I have mentioned that. Yeah, a combination of financial capital with physical capital increases productivity of economic resources, thus employment opportunities, and this will lead to the multiplication of economic activities. We call it the multiplier effect. Okay. In general, in the macro economy, we can calculate the multiplier effect by taking the multiplier is equals to 1/1 minus the NPC. All students of economics will know this, and this is also equal to 1 over the MPS. So you can see how critical that we can mobilize our saving will result in a greater multiplication of the economic activities. And when economic activities being multiplied, the benefits will be felt by all levels of society, contributing to shared economic prosperity. The result is tangible benefits realized by owners of all types of economic resources. Now, in extending the multiplier effect, a good proxy of the multiplier effect is the money multiplier, simple money multiplier, whereby the money multiplier is being calculated. So money multiplier is being calculated by 1 over the statutory reserve requirement, or the required reserve ratio. And you can see that the money multiplier, as a good proxy for the economic multiplier, actually just take into account the money being circulated in the banking sector, because the statutory required reserve is only applicable to the banking institutions. So in other words, the working of the economy today really do not take into the unbankables, because even the multiplier effect is considering merely those money circulated in the banking sector. Now, what is the role of Islamic finance? Okay, now Islamic finance should includes justice and fairness in distribution of wealth. It promotes the principle of risk and rewards in wealth creation. It promotes entrepreneurship and creativity. It assists in combining the financial resources with the physical resources and making the physical resources more productive in that sense. Islamic finance therefore aims to achieve the maqasid sharia, to promote the well-being of all mankind, which lies in the safeguarding the 5 essential elements of faith, human self, intellect, prosperity, and wealth. And therefore, efforts made to safeguard these elements here will be considered as, protecting or serving the public interest or the maslahah, thus are desirable. Therefore, in the Islamic finance scope, finding ways and means of how Islamic finance can protect these 5 essentials to ensure development as well as well-being of the mankind is most desirable, and will be a noble effort to work on. Right. Let me continue and move away from concepts and see what is happening now in the Islamic finance industry. Okay, Islamic finance industry is witnessing a rapid growth with total asset of about US $2.2 trillion, and the estimate continue to be increased from time to time because of the good performance, excellent performance of the Islamic finance. It sustained double-digit growth over the last decade. Islamic finance system has gradually becoming an important component of the global financial system. However, there are several issues. We see that growth has been uneven. Okay, in more than 60 countries that Islamic finance are there, or about 95% of the global Islamic finance assets are concentrated in 10 countries only. Okay, and despite its rapid growth in terms of segment, development in Islamic finance was only limited to 3 sectors only. Okay, and this is according to the Islamic Financial Services Board. Okay, a banking sector 79%, nearly 80%. Islamic capital market 19.8%, and takaful 1.3%. So 2 issues arise here. Because of the strong presence of the banking sector in the Islamic finance industry, there is an urgent need to mobilize the banking sector in order to achieve or include or improve financial inclusion among the population. How we can do that? Okay, so that is the situation. And another issue that must be highlighted here is that how do we further diversify the segment in Islamic finance so that it will also include the growth of, for example, microfinance, the growth of Islamic social finance, and thus not limited to only 3 segments here. Okay, so even though that's the situation, impressive growth of Islamic finance thus far, however, there are low financial inclusion in the Muslim countries. Not only that there are huge income inequality, there are also low financial inclusion in the Muslim countries. These financial inclusion is the delivery of financial services at affordable cost to the unbankables. These could include basic financial services like credit, saving, and takaful. Okay, and we see that the average for Muslims in terms of financial inclusion are only 27%. Okay, the low number of adults in the Muslim countries having bank accounts. Okay, only 27%. I think in most of the developed countries, by comparison, financial inclusion indicator of adults having bank account would be more than 90%. Okay, so there can be other indicators, but just these basic indicators on average, this basic indicator of having a bank account, only 27% on average in the Muslim country. In some countries like Mauritania, okay, the financial inclusion index in Mauritania is about 11% only. Okay, and over there, we don't really talk about financial inclusion, improving financial inclusion. We want to understand what are the reasons for the financial exclusion. Okay, so some of the main reasons being quoted for the low financial inclusion in the Muslim countries are because of the absence or uneven access to financial access, as well as the unavailability of Sharia compliant products. Okay, and the problem is that even when there is availability of Islamic banking products in selected MENA regions, Middle East and North African region, there are very low number of the people who are using Islamic banking services, and it seems that still the issue, the Muslims in many countries are still asking how Islamic is Islamic banks. Okay, and this has been ongoing, since the start of the industry. How Islamic is Islamic. I think even sometimes we see some discussion, people are still talking about this. So this is an issue, a problem that needs to be dealt with. Okay, according to the World Bank, there will be efforts to encourage or increase here financial inclusion. Okay, and this is part of the Sustainable Development Goals. okay, whereby the target is that all the people on the planet would have financial access in whatever form, would have financial access. They call it the universal financial access by the end of the Sustainable Development Goal period, which is by 2030. And here we want to ask, what is the role to be played by the Islamic banks in promoting the financial inclusion agenda? Why we ask the Islamic banks? Because Islamic banks, in terms of segment, constitute nearly 80% of the Islamic finance industry. So let's move on and see what are the role of Islamic finance. So there are several roles that Islamic finance can play in improving or increasing financial inclusion and therefore provide economic empowerment. First is ISF. This is the Islamic social finance. Islamic social finance has a big role to play. Essentially, it is an approach to address and solve societal issues through innovative approaches beyond traditional financing method of credit and saving, and it aims at achieving social and environmental impact. Okay, so these can be various modes of finance that are rooted in Islamic ethics and intended to achieve the noble benefits or noble objective of Islamic economics that we have mentioned just now. We can also call it Islamic finance for social good. Okay, so these include instruments like zakat. These are the common Islamic social finance instrument being mentioned again and again: wakaf, sadaqah, hibah, qardul hasan, and ta'awun based products. Okay, so the challenge for the Islamic finance industry, and this is a challenge because Islamic banks in particular comprise of 80% of the industry segment. The challenge, particularly for the Islamic banks, is how to develop and implement this Islamic social finance instrument within the context and realities of a commercially driven Islamic banking industry. So the Islamic banking fraternity would have to really innovate and go beyond their comfort zone in order to implement this Islamic social finance instrument within the context of commercially driven context. So we will discuss that shortly, how that can be done. So Islamic social finance, so far, the discussion has been conceptual and theoretical. Especially in Islamic economics, we see that it has been more of a description of concepts, the conceptual framework, and in most cases, it has been taking the criticism approach. However, criticism are many. There are a lot of criticism, but unfortunately, there has been no practical solutions. So what we see today in the Islamic finance industry is that there are continuous or efforts are being expedited to explore Islamic social finance as a solution to increase financial inclusion, which is a very healthy situation. Okay, so how can we include Islamic social finance to increase financial inclusion? First, we can look at the application of Islamic finance in specific economic sector. So later on, we'll go one by one. Then we can also look at the application of Islamic finance in specific economic segment, like for small business, for micro enterprises, for youth employment. Okay, and we will also see some discussion about how to improve the delivery channels of Islamic social finance to be offered by the industry players, so that it will be of a greater or easier access by both, of course, the bankables as well as the unbankables. Okay. Now, this is the first area of implementation. Islamic social finance and specific economic usage or activities. It can be for productive activities. Okay, for example, wakaf crowdfunding for small farmers, zakat fund for financing productive economic activities, the collaboration or combination or sourcing sources of fund from zakat or Islamic social finance instruments for microfinance activities. That can be, the area of application. And in fact, many PhD theses, master theses are being written on this topic. And in several cases also, there are real life examples of the industry are doing this. Now, there can also be Islamic social finance for basic need provision. Okay, for consumption purpose, for payment of debts, for healthcare, providing healthcare, basic healthcare, for affordable housing. Okay, so we also have Islamic social finance being applied as a new economic model in the sharing economy. Okay, we're developing, we can develop a community agriculture on unutilized wakaf land. If we talk about wakaf, there, the same issue will be highlighted, that out of the vast wakaf land, less than 5%, less than even, in some cases, in some countries, less than 1% are being developed. So how do we combine this unproductive wakaf land with the entrepreneurial ability, other financial resources as well as financial resources, so that to increase the productivity of this unutilized wakaf land, so that it will be serving the objective of the wakif, so that it can benefit, at least it can benefit somebody. Okay, now cash wakaf for microfinance, green microfinance, all these are being, there are area of application. Now, Islamic social finance and specific economic sectors, this is area of implementation number 2, whereby there can be wakaf crowdfunding for paddy farmers. You can see specific economic sector, paddy farmers, for trading activities, for fishery industry. Okay, like in some countries like Mauritania, the fishery industry is contributing significantly to the economic activity as well as to the employment, job creation. So how can Islamic social finance instrument assist in terms of providing the much needed financial capital to this specific economic sector? Okay, there are also PhD theses being done looking at specifically paddy farmers in Malaysian context. Okay, how we can use wakaf crowdfunding for that purpose. Crowdfunding for the development of community-based aquaculture or agriculture product. Okay, so this can also be one way to empower the poor. Okay, one of my students are looking already done writing, looking at the development of wakaf forests. Not sure, perhaps it's a wakaf forest, or maybe also, to be fair to the situation, maybe wakaf jungle. Okay, and that can be extended to be one of the economic empowerment program, whereby agro-tourism can be developed on that wakaf jungle. Okay, perhaps stingless bee farming can be done there. Perhaps aquaculture can be done there. Perhaps some farming can be done there. Okay, so all these are solutions in terms of incorporating Islamic social finance into economic activities And of course, there are role to be played by the Islamic financial institutions. So with the COVID-19, since we are still struggling, in the aftermath of the COVID-19, we see that specific sectors are being affected. Okay, so this is a study being done by McKinsey and Company. So you can see that here is on the y-axis higher financial risk, on the x-axis is affected, degree affected by COVID-19, with here more affected. So you can see that these circles here, okay, circle size shows million of jobs. A million of jobs in the sector. Most affected here is A, which is accommodation and food services, with less traveling, less restriction. So we see this sector is being affected. More affected, higher financial risk. Okay, then we see G here. Okay, is a blue circle. It is more affected, but having lower financial risk. What is G? G is the healthcare and social assistance. Okay, so in other words, the specific economic sector to be dealt with are A, accommodation and food services, C, okay, arts, entertainment and recreation, E, education services are also being affected. Okay, and we also have P, which is transport, transportation and housing. So if Islamic social finance instrument can be focused, okay, towards addressing the financial risk as well as the degree being affected of these sectors, that will be a great contribution of the Islamic finance industry. Now, also another way that Islamic social finance can contribute is in terms of specifying, or addressing particular target groups. So we see Islamic microfinance for youth entrepreneurs. Several studies have been done at PhD level as well as at master level, focusing on youth entrepreneurs. Why? Also, we have women and single mothers, okay, small farmers, refugees, B40, bottom 40%, the poor, the elderly, the specific community. So why do we focus on all this? This is because I bring the slide again, that these are those who are being affected most by the pandemic, who are the unbankables. Okay, so specific Islamic social finance instruments can be devised, can be structured to address this particular target group. Okay. So we have economic empowerment for sustainable livelihood. For example, those in Indonesia, the pesantren, or in Malaysia, very popular, we have the tahfiz schools. Okay, so we see that how they can be empowered, okay, and earn sustainable livelihood. Perhaps some form of economic empowerment activity, like small scale farming. They can grow their own vegetables, or they can start their own mineral water activities, just like what is being done in Gontor. Okay, and they can have earn income by way of having stingless bee farming, like what is being done in many high schools in Pahang. Okay, and these activities start to give income to the generate income for sustainable livelihood of the tahfiz. Okay, so all this requires innovation and the assistance or the contribution of the Islamic financial institutions. Okay. Now we have this perhaps later on, if you have the interest, you can look at the role of social business enterprise, social B, and they actually help in terms of the livelihood of the refugee. Okay, so Islamic finance and the empowerment of the vulnerable groups, financing needs for economic empowerment program of women micro entrepreneurs, people with disabilities, refugees, the poor, both rural and urban, the youth, the elderly. Okay, the basic provision, needs provision like affordable housing using Islamic social finance model like wakaf, as well as SRI Suku. We have done the research and the models are there, but it's just awaiting for other stakeholders to contribute. Okay, all right. So I've mentioned about the need to be innovative in terms of offering, financial instruments. So we can have Islamic P2P or wakaf crowdfunding for small farmers. Research is being done. PhD thesis is completed on this matter. Wakaf base or SRI Suku for affordable housing. This is being done by many research groups. Islamic social finance funded productive activities. This I have mentioned just now. Okay, SRI support for microfinance. This I would like to share more detail shortly. Micro takaful for the poor. The industry credit should be given to the industry as well as the authority, where continuous refinement efforts are being done in terms of how micro takaful can be offered to the poor. Okay. I mentioned about another area of implementation is Islamic social finance and being implemented by different or specific Islamic financial institutions. If earlier I mentioned about how the Islamic banks can come in and offer Islamic social finance, well, we have the cooperative. Okay, so this can be cooperative-based economic empowerment program. Okay, or another Islamic financial institution is Islamic Microfinance institution. Okay, which do not really require physical collateral and do not charge interest, which is based on group lending and non-physical collateral. Okay, the case of Akhwat, for example, they use spiritual collateral to avoid or to reduce the possibility of default among the group members. So all these are innovative ideas which have been shown to be successful in helping the unbankables and providing job opportunity or economic empowerment programs for them so that they can graduate or bring them out from the BOP or from the poverty trap. Islamic commercial banks in the social sector like wakaf, education, health, affordable housing on wakaf land, all this, again, credit should be given to the Islamic banks, especially in Malaysia. We see a lot of activities and participation of several Islamic banks in providing wakaf, okay, in the funding, the providing scholarship, giving zakat distribution of zakat, as well as contribute together in developing affordable housing on wakaf land. Okay, so these are all happening, and these are all very healthy development. Collaboration with Islamic Fintech companies, for example, Islamic crowd investing for sustainable agriculture. So I'll go very fast, but all these are actually happening, and the Islamic finance industry are truly contributing to financial inclusion and economic empowerment to the poor. Okay, now we also see that the Islamic finance industry are also contributing towards the achievement of the sustainable development goals. Okay, in fact, I put it over here. The sustainable development goals itself are not just about achieving specific targets, but the sustainable development goals itself, or all those goals must be financially sustainable as well. Okay, so like we want to achieve here, target 3.1, reduce maternal mortality, okay, or target 3.8 here, okay, 3.8 here, achieve universal health coverage. Okay, in order to achieve those sustainable development goals, financial resources would have to be given to support the achievement or the deliverables of the sustainable development goals. Okay, so these therefore we can relate Islamic finance to the 17 goals of the SDG. This involves like Islamic finance and the environment. So we see many of the Islamic banks are involved in green banking, green sukuk, expanding Islamic finance and the quality of life. For example, socially responsible investment, SRI sukuk in the social sector. What social sector? Like the education sector in Malaysia, the experience of SRI sukuk ihsan in the education in the public schools. Also Islamic finance and universal health coverage, which I have mentioned just now. So the emphasis is not only on what services to be covered, but also how they are funded, managed and delivered. And this would call for a very important role, relevant role of the Islamic banks and other Islamic financial institutions. Now, what is the role of Islamic finance? Number 2 is SRI. This is the rising importance of Islamic socially responsible investing, SRI. Okay, so several initiatives on sustainable finance to support the green agenda, the social objective. In fact, in Malaysia, in 2014, the Securities Commission formulated Malaysia's SRI sukuk framework, under which Malaysia issued its green sukuk, okay, an Islamic instrument, okay, in 2017. Okay, so we now the ESG criteria, environment, social, and governance are being included in all evaluation in the financial sector. Now, very quickly, SRI is a concept of making investment decision considering not only financial returns, but also social impact. Okay, so here you can see here that the data is gathered from the Global Sustainable Investment Alliance Annual Report 2016. Of course, latest data are also available, but just to show you that this global SRI movement has been there for quite some time. Where you see of total asset being managed in Europe in 2015, it's already 58 or nearly 60% are already socially responsible investment. Okay, so that is in Europe. Okay, in the US, it's already about 18%, and in 2016 it increased further to 22%. In Canada, it's already nearly 40% of SRI relative to total asset being managed. Numbers are still very small in Asia, excluding Japan, not even 1%. But the current effort seems to show that it is the SRI, socially responsible investment, is expanding very rapidly, and with the support and collaboration of the financial institutions, especially Islamic financial institutions, we can see, this number to go up substantially. Okay, so in terms of globally, the total SRI, total asset under management of all countries throughout the globe, which is comprised of SRI, has reached more, if we can update the figures now, more than 30%, okay, more than 30%. So we see that the potential of the SRI is very big. Okay, so you can see here, this graph here. Okay, my apology, I didn't realize that this graph is cut off here, but this is for green and SRI bond. Okay, and it is increasing very rapidly, but for SRI, it is still substantially lower compared to SRI bond and green. Okay, so the potentials are very high. So this is the one issued by the Securities Commission in 2014. You can see the various areas of implementation for socially responsible investment. Okay, so it comprised of the natural resources for perhaps sustainable land use, sustainable forestry and agriculture that could relate to the Wakaf forest that we have mentioned just now, biodiversity conservation, and then we have renewable energy and energy efficiency. So these are all the eligible SRI projects. Community and economic development, which involves public hospitals, public educational services, community services, affordable housing is here, sustainable building projects, urban revitalization. And I would like to bring your attention to specifically here, Wakaf properties and assets. So you can see that being categorized as one specific area of implementation, whereby according to the SC, this involves any projects that undertake the development of Wakaf properties and assets. So there are a lot of areas of implementation. One of the areas just now I've mentioned, like for example, we can have community agro development, sustainable agro development on unutilized Wakaf land. Okay, so of course the details need to be ironed out, the regulatory constraints, etc., etc. But the opportunity, the potentials are just a lot. Yeah. So here you can see some current notable projects involving socially responsible investment. The World Bank has issued its first green bond in 2008. Okay, this is to support a climate focus program. Then comes the Orasis Green Suku in 2012. So this is Suku. Okay, for the renewable energy sector using Musyarakah Ijara structure. Then there were the vaccine suku in 2014, okay, to provide vaccine in poor countries, in fact in 73 countries. So you can see the projects that are beneficial to the society. Okay, and here we have the first ringgit SRI suku be named as Suku Ihsan by Hazanah National Berhad. Okay, and you can see that this is amounting to 1 billion for trust school under Yayasan Amir. Okay, and then we also have in 2017 Tadau Green Suku. Okay, to finance, the proceed is used to finance large-scale solar projects in Sabah. And also in 2018, large amount here, USD 1.25 billion with the yield of 3.75 issued by the Republic of Indonesia as a sovereign green suku to finance green projects. Okay. So efforts are ongoing, and these are all very healthy development.
My apology to interrupt you, Prof.
Yes.
We have several questions waiting for you to be addressed.
Okay.
Yeah. So perhaps, yeah, we can.
Okay.
We can have like 5 to 10 minutes. Then we can
Okay.
move into question and answer session. Is it okay, Prof?
Okay. I have a place where I intend to pause. So I will just
You can
go through
proceed.
very fast
Yeah.
before a proposal, and then we will take the Q&A, and then perhaps I can continue very quickly on the proposal. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, Prof. Go on.
All right. Okay. Now, more roles to be played by Islamic finance is number 3 is SBE. What's SBE? This is another movement which is ongoing in the world, which is the social business enterprise. Okay, so this is here. I've provided what is the social enterprise. So the mission is in terms of economic, social, cultural, or environmental mission being aligned to public and community benefit. And here you can see that profit is also the objective, but it is not the only objective. So financial and social value coexist. Okay, so here at the moment there are a lot of social business enterprise mushrooming. So all this would require funding support. Okay, and here is where the Islamic finance or Islamic financial institutions, and especially the Islamic banks, can play their role in contributing to the society. In fact, under the value-based intermediation, this can be one channel where the Islamic banks can actually participate in contributing to the society. Okay, so I'll go fast. So here is one example where one of the social business enterprise contributing in the achieving the sustainable development goals. Okay, and in Indonesia, this is based on a study being done by one of my research students. Okay, as here it started to contribute towards employment, in terms of number of employment, to full-time employees, part-time female employees, etc., etc. So the social business enterprise are a new business model, and of course, the Islamic finance stakeholders are able to contribute accordingly. Next, more role being played by Islamic finance in increasing financial inclusion and economic empowerment is the role of supportive regulatory environment. I put it as SRE. Okay, so clearly here we see that there is a need to establish supportive and enabling environment to enable Islamic finance institutions to reach, or Islamic finance in general, to reach its potential and provide effective support to the SDG. So what type of regulatory SRE that we need here at the country level, as well as at the global level? Regulatory and supervisory framework should be strengthened. The legal underpinnings of Islamic finance instrument need to be more robust. Instrument for liquidity management need to be further developed and enriched. At the global level, we are still talking. Are we still talking about standardization, or are we moving towards harmonization? This continue to be critical. Promoting the adoption of international standards, okay, like IFSB as well as AUFI. Okay, more role. So you can see that the Islamic finance are doing all it can and are contributing meaningfully to the creation of economic activity, despite the various criticisms that the skeptics are hopping around. Okay, so empowering non-bank financial institutions. Of course, the name is non-bank. Okay, so these are non-commercial bank institutions in expediting real economic activities and enabling quick recovery. What are some of the non-bank financial institutions? We are talking about investment institution, like perhaps Tabung Haji. We also have various development financial institutions, microfinance institution, so on and so forth. So microfinance institutions, I'll go fast. Later on, you can check. Clearly, there are differences between banks and microfinance institutions, where microfinance institutions are based on various models. It can be self-help group lending, cooperative based, but for banks, it is mainly at the moment financial intermediary, and their source of funds are customer deposit. But for microfinance institutions, they can be more creative in terms of sourcing their funds, and they also provide additional services. Microfinance institutions, apart from giving credit, they also give other trainings, like Amanah Ikhtiar Malaysia. They also provide spiritual support, as well as religious, support as well. So credit plus. So there are clear differences, and all this, would actually diversify the segment or enrich the segment, the Islamic finance segment. So I am highlighting the conventional microfinance, which is based on interest. This is a Grameen Bank, very popular. Many of us know Grameen microfinance, but it is actually based on interest. Banco Sol in Bolivia, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, and Finca. Let me highlight that the interest. So I specifically expand on the interest on loan percent nominal per year. Mostly are very high. Okay, very high, in some cases nearly 50%. So you can just imagine that the poor, they have to pay for this, the cost, the financial cost that they have to pay in order to have access to credit. Okay, so I will skip most of the discussion here, and I have also highlighted that microfinance, many of the financial service providers, especially the commercial banks, they have an aversion towards microfinance. And a study by Symbiotics in 2011 seems to show that this is actually an unfounded aversion. Okay, perhaps it will be difficult to swallow by the banking institution that microfinance is, not really commercially viable. Okay, but according to many studies, it is an attractive area for diversification and portfolio stabilizer. The asset of the industry is expanding rapidly. Leading microfinance institution grew 20% per annum, sustaining strong capital supply and strong microeconomic activity. They are resilient from global economic downturn risk. For example, during the global financial crisis 2007-2008, of course, we know that they are labor intensive. 15%, on average, 15% of the operating expenses contribute by labor. Okay, so it helps in terms of providing job opportunities. Microcredit rates normally 2 to 3% per month, and thus the portfolio yields is about 30%. Okay. And the default rates, more importantly, this is very important, the default rates are actually very low. The case of Akhwat, the case of Amanah Ikhtiar, just to name a few, the default rates of these microfinance institutions are less than 1%. Okay, so why are the Islamic banks or the banking institutions have this aversion towards microfinance? Okay, so perhaps if there are specific structure that can be devised in terms of collaboration between the Islamic microfinance and the Islamic banks that can actually help towards increasing financial inclusion and economic empowerment of the microfinance clients. But still we see that, yes, to be fair to the situation, the Islamic microfinance institutions face various challenges in terms of outreach and sustainability. Mainly in terms of the sources of funds. In most cases, it comes from donation as well as government grants. So in terms of sources of funds are not sustainable, and in terms of microfinance, Islamic microfinance in particular, the cost of offering the services are very expensive, okay, because of the geographical location. And microfinance, it is the microfinance institutions that go to the client, not like in the case of the bank where the bank client will go to the bank. Okay, so this is a very expensive model, business model. And there are also a lack of innovative products where, according to the CGAP survey, around 70% of Islamic microfinance instruments still based on murabahah based. The use of salam, istisna are not really, or ijarah, even ijarah are not really there. Now, I'll go through very fast. We also see the role of Islamic Fintech company in improving financial inclusion. So I call it, another role is the Fintech driven Islamic finance. So in general, Fintech can widen the reach of financial products and services to the poor, or on the other side of the coin, making financial services more accessible to the unbankable. Okay, so this is just the summary of what I have mentioned. So I will take a pause here, and if there are time later on, I will just highlight a simple proposal in terms of how the Islamic finance institution can provide or increase financial inclusion among the poor and provide economic empowerment through the issuance of SRI Sukuk for Islamic microfinance. So I will pause here, Dr. Hazizi, to take the questions.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay.
For the insightful sharing.
Okay.
I believe 30 to 40 minutes is not enough to share your wisdom, Prof.
Okay.
So, and
right.
we have many questions coming up in the chat box, perhaps.
Right.
So let me just quickly summarize what I get from your presentation. So I'm very glad that you highlight the importance of mobilizing the capital, not just efficiently, but also fairly, right?
Correct.
And because we have capitalistic views, then we have seen many problems of inequality, poverty, and etc., right? And then this has created somewhat a paradox in Islamic banking, because we're saying in Islamic economics that we should, allocate more capital equitably to poor peoples and so on. But at the same time, in practice, we've seen that this is not happening in Islamic banking, right? So, and then you have highlighted the potential role of Islamic social finance. Right. And then I just want to get your view when there is a proposal now that we are moving to positive screening. So rather than just merely Sharia compliant business, we should say to the Islamic banks that you should be selective in terms of allocating your capital, right? Correct. And then this can have an impact to the society itself. Yes. But I just want to get, I just want to know whether you share the same view as me. But you don't have to address now my question, or you can address together with other participant question, because I can see that we have 130 for now, Prof. It's quite a number. So I just let any of you to unmute yourself, and then you can ask question directly to Prof now. So please, anyone. And then after this, I'll read through the question in the chat box. Yeah. So any of you, please welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yes. I'm Muhammad Abdul Rauf Sharkar from Bangladesh. And I have a question about Islamic finance in the mobile financial sector, along with ADC channel. But in the in your last slide, in the limitation of the IMF, I found my answer. Thank you, madam, and and I'm very honored to hear you listening your lecture, and it is my first time, and I have heard you about lot, but this is my first time to hear you lecture. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, brother. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So we have another one as well. Can you take many questions, Prof, and then you can address together?
Oh, okay. So I just jot down.
All right. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
So we have next.
Assalamu alaikum, dear ma'am. It's a wonderful session and we are benefited by your vast knowledge and experience. Thanks a lot for organizing such a wonderful presentation. Ma'am, my question is that people don't have the idea. In our country, we find that don't find the difference between the commercial bank and the Islamic finance bank. So what measures should a developing country, Muslim country like Bangladesh can take to enhance the productivity or the spread the objectives of Islamic banking, like economic prosperity? How we take the measures to spread the objectives of Islamic banking and finance?
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
How many more you can take?
I have one
yeah,
more
you
question.
have another one. All right.
Let me say hi for the prof. And good to hear you. Sometimes back, long time was my lecturer. I was took with her the money and banking. So let me say hi. My question is just simple. The prof is emphasized for financial inclusion.
Okay.
Actually, in Islamic finance, now it seems that it's more the Islamic countries they are focusing. So my question, how can we also, this idea, we need to sell also the non-Muslim countries just to see how our bank is working and how our economy is growing. So can we share our ideas? What is the best approach we can share with non-Muslim countries, our Islamic economy?
Thank you, brother. Do we have anyone else?
Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
Assalamu
alaikum.
Prof, I am Abdul Hayy from India. Prof, I have a question regarding financial inclusion. So, in Indian scenario, 80% of Muslim population is not using conventional banks because due to the non-Sharia compliant elements. So they are excluded from the banking activities, and but there are some cooperative societies. They are providing Sharia compliant products and services, but the people are not so much enthusiastic to use these products and services, and they are not aware from this. So how I and other Indian students, as a banking students, can we do something for our society or community so they can know about this society and they can involve in the Sharia compliant activities? So what role can we play for this?
Thank you so much, brother. So can we let Prof address those questions first, and then probably we have another round of question. Please, Prof.
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. I think most of the questions are actually surrounding the area of financial inclusion and what will be the best approach, as well as how to promote the role of Islamic banks, which sometimes in some cases, the critics say that there is no difference it's just a camouflage, that kind of thing. So actually, we continue to face this issue, this criticism. But as I have shown you just now, there are real efforts being undertaken by the Islamic banks, and the authorities are also committed to ensure that the Islamic banks are truly, to its name, in terms of the area that they are addressing, the economic activities that they are involved in, and in many cases, efforts by the authority, like in the case of Malaysia, efforts to ensure or to increase the contribution of the Islamic banks in the real as well as social sector through value-based intermediation is there. So I think all in all, we should also give credit. Of course, I have mentioned just now, the challenge is how the Islamic social finance can be implemented. Of course, the Islamic banks are not welfare institutions. So how can this Islamic social finance instrument can be implemented within the commercially driven institutions like the Islamic bank? So that remains a challenge, and again, efforts are actually being done, even though it is it's slowly but surely. So in terms of, in some cases, like in India, the third question, role of non-bank financial institutions like cooperative society. So what the students can do, this actually echoed well with what respected Prof Faris has mentioned just now, that our students, in humanizing the knowledge that we have gained at the university, perhaps many of the students can actually be part of these social business enterprise movements. Okay, so of course it's not easy to get the idea involving in the SBE, social business enterprise. We also have to search for the funders. We also have to search for the relevant activities, as well as to ensure the financial and operational sustainability of the SBEs. So all this would require the knowledge, the skills, and perhaps that is where your contribution as students can be in terms of contributing to the society. Okay, I think that's all from me for the set of questions just now. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. So to be fair with those who written the question in the chat box, but there's so many of them, so I don't know how I'm going to go to, and then you can address all of them together, yeah, Prof?
All right. Okay, try my best.
Yeah, all right, sure. Let's do that. We have. Oh, hold on, I put a note here. So we have a brother Nick Azizu who asking about the concept of ta'awun in Islamic finance, how we can implement this, and then we also have Nefianti who asking about that we have many Islamic social finance instrument. We have zakat, wakaf, and so on, but this is currently being underutilized in countries such as Indonesia and so on. So how we can empower this, and then she also asked about I think you have somehow addressed that just now.
Yeah.
So, and then we have Kadra who asking about the use of artificial intelligence to enhance financial inclusion. So maybe perhaps you can elaborate on that. and Cook as well from ISHAM, who are asking about the role of regulators to enhance these methods of investing that gain a popularity in current days. And then we have Zalika also asking about the same question, the role of regulators in green sukuk in specific. So please, Prof.
Okay. Very interesting questions and insight into this, and these are all very relevant. For example, in terms of how the SRI sukuk can be further encouraged and perhaps expedited, the key answer to that, especially from the regulator side, is in terms of incentivizing the stakeholders and so on. So coming up with the right incentive that as well as ensuring a conducive regulatory environment will go a long way in supporting the development of SRI sukuk in Malaysia. Okay, clear framework and guidelines will also be important as well. Okay. Now, with regard to ta'awun in Islamic finance, there are various areas of application. One area that has been always been my concern is on a micro takaful, because we see that the micro takaful, especially for the poor, an area which is considered as not commercially viable by the takaful operators, and efforts are being done on how the micro takaful can be offered so that in this context the poor would also be financially included. As you know, that financial inclusion involves basic financial services, not just in terms of credit, not just in terms of saving, but also takaful. In terms of AI that can enhance financial inclusion, I totally agree with Sister Kadra. There are various ways in terms of getting the information using big data and so on, so that the behavior, financial behavior, as well as the financial awareness of the poor or the unbankables can be analyzed, and suitable financial
about the incentive, seeing the economic will be flourish, inshallah. So we can, do you mind, Prof, if we have another round of question, or because we should stop at 12:30, but we exceeded time. So let me just, let me just open just a short another, so because I try to please your fans and followers. so please, if anyone have another, or you just want to have a discussion with Prof, so introduce yourself and go on.
You sound so far away.
Yes, the sound is not that clear.
Alaykum wabarakatuh.
Wassalam.
My name is Khadra Ismail. I'm from Chiburi. It was such a fruitful discussion, and I really very honored to join this discussion. Question to the Prof Selena, what happened to be my my teacher for undergraduate, as well as my can play a role for enhancing the economic empowerment for Muslim society.
Yes.
Thank you, sister. Can we have Isham raising hand?
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, clearly.
Yes. Hi. I'm the one that actually asked a question just now about the regulators. So I just want to expand a bit more from the questions. So basically, what right now is actually to expand the sukuk market to retail investors. So these are people that are non-high net worth, not corporates. So this is our normal day-to-day people. So they're having a lot of challenges because like within the institutional market itself, there's a very big liquidity already, meaning that if you are an issuer of SRI sukuk, you issue, there will surely be people that actually take it. The banks are actually looking for this kind of asset. So they don't really have an incentive to actually like issue it to the retail people. So like, and in that sense, no matter like how much the regulator do, let's say regulator say, so right now if you issue normal investor, you don't have to, your reporting to SC will be less. And then you can get like tax exemption, those on so forth, but they won't be going there because as an issuer, what worries me is that I want the money and I want the money cheap. So if I go to the retail investor, there may be too much hassle because I have to deal with too many investors. Because this is a debt program, right? It's not like an equity where you own a part of the company. It's part of a financing. So in that sense, what kind of things that this regulator can do to actually promote, to tell this issuer, right? Say, why don't you also issue this to the normal investor, people that are not high net worth, as a part of your role, as a part of the whole ecosystem, meaning that it is based on you because you want to contribute to the development of the ecosystem rather than just, because if you see overseas, right, when we talk about SRIs, the main drivers are actually the normal people, the people that they believe in the cause. So right now, we have a very successful sukuk market, but there's not much access there. What is your opinion on fractional sukuk investing? So for example, like right now, right, we have this all crypto market that investor can actually buy for fractional, meaning that you can put 100 and then you can put a 0.0001. So I personally, I believe this is one way that retail investor can access the sukuk market, because like one lot of sukuk market is 5 million. So it's almost impossible for like normal investor to just buy one lot for 5 million, right? So what is your opinion on like fractional sukuk in Malaysia for retail investor? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you for the questions. These are very good questions. The way that I see it with regard to the retail, subscribers to the SRI, that the issuers would have to face, simply because I think SRI sukuk, it's a relatively new instrument, especially for the retail markets, individual investors. Yeah. So of course, having the benefit of involving in one of the research on SRI sukuk, we got the feedback from the issuer that sometimes it's difficult to get the retail customers to participate in SRI sukuk, because they are already there wanting to invest in SRI sukuk. Suddenly they say that this, they got the call, this masjid would like to get some donation, then they say, oh, okay, I will go for that option rather than in SRI, because for one thing, the awareness is still not there. Especially among the retailers. I would be confident if you ask many people SRI, many people are not familiar with this. Okay, so the literacy need to be expedited, the incentive need to be improved, enhanced, as well as I think the channels to invest should be made more accommodative. For example, perhaps the retail investors can invest in SRI sukuk just through internet banking. We used to have the same situation with investment in the stock market, just as simple as that. Last time, not many retail investors, I'm coming from the 1980s, investor, 1980s, 1990s. At that time, not many people invest in the stock market. Why? Because it's difficult. CDS account, that sort of thing. But many investor, any retail, any bank client can actually involve in the stock market through the handphone, through internet IPOs through internet banking. So there's no issue there. And perhaps the same thing can be applicable in the context of retail SRI Sukuk. And I agree with you, could it be the tokenization? That will be another way, the various efforts to facilitate retail investors to invest in the SRI Sukuk. Now, regarding the forward instrument, Salam and Istisna, I would say that this will be ideal instrument to be implemented for Islamic microfinance purpose, especially in the agriculture sector. Okay, as I have highlighted just now, about more than 70% of the instrument offered under Islamic microfinance are still mainly murabahah based. If there can be salam, istisna, ijarah, diminishing musyarakah instruments to be offered for Islamic microfinance, this will be an ideal situation. In fact, many of the Islamic microfinance institutions, if they were to go beyond murabahah, then they can get award for that, being innovative in their offering of Islamic microfinance instrument. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you, Prof. I'm afraid that will be the last question that we can take on this. Perhaps if I allow them, we can probably finish at 5 o'clock. So perhaps we can have another coffee session with you, Prof, in the future.
Inshallah. It's just that I actually have prepared a very detailed proposal in terms of Islamic SRI Sukuk for Islamic microfinance. I will be very happy to share my slides. It seems that time is not on our side for me to share that in this talk. However, I am very happy to see many of you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me today. I feel very humbled and honored. So inshallah, we will see each other in the future. Thank you so
Prof.
much.
It's always a pleasure to listen to you, Prof. And once again, congratulations. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Let's end this session with Tasbih Kafarah and so for us. Thank you so much, everyone. See you again in the future, inshallah.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Salina.
Take
so much,
care.
Prof. Thank you. Prof. Salina.
Salam from Indonesia, Prof.
Thank you so much from the Gambia.
From Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
You can have a hands up with your Prof.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Prof. Abdurrahman.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Congrats, Prof. Abidin from IFSB.
MashaAllah, Dr. Abidin, how are you?
Very well, Prof.
Thank you for
Congratulations.
coming. Thank you for
Alhamdulillah.
coming. Inshallah.
Congratulations, Prof.
Thank you so much. Who's that? Who's talking?
Yeah, Saeed from Israel.
From Israel.
MashaAllah. Thank you. Thank you for attending this talk. Okay. Thank you.
This is Nabil from Nigeria.
MashaAllah. Thank you. Brother Nabil, Dr. Nabil, what's the time over there?
The time is 6 a.m. in the morning.
6 or 6 a.m.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
May Allah bless all of you. Inshallah, bless us all.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Salina.
Thank you so much. Siapa cakap?
Very good topic. Very
good. You left this one.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much.
Very good topic. So many ideas.
Yeah.
So I think banyak benda tu, I think kita kena sit down and see how to push the narrative tu.
Masya Allah. There are a lot of things to share, but time is not on our side. In fact, I have another like 20 slides more, but that is very specific, Prof.
Prof. Salina has 66 slides, Prof. Haris.
Prof Rosni, you can put part two.
like Brother Nazrul
that.
mentioned, until 5 o'clock also. Ya Allah. Okay, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you. Assalamualaikum. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Prof Rusni, ada habis saya Prof Rusni.
Sorry, baru habis.
Allah, thank you for coming.
Lama lah pula. Sila, Prof. Salina.
Oh, sila. Settle dah? Settle.
Ya, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I mean that, you know lah, the case kan when you brought to the this council kan, the extinction.
Oh,
you know.
yelah.
MashaAllah.
Recording stopped.
But Alhamdulillah, settle. Main lah.
Okay.
Minor correction.
InsyaAllah. Ya, insyaAllah Nur Afiza pun I've submitted. I think soon pun Nur Afiza.
Musliza also submitting also.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah lah. Thanks Nazrul, Azizi.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Thank you Nazrul.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Thank you. Oh, Brother Asif from Ailangga. Memang
I
rajin.
see people waiting to speak to you, so.
Okay. Siapa tu? Okay ya,
Okay, right. I think
terima kasih banyak. Excellent. Okay, alright. Salam ke Nura.
Ya, insyaAllah.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Take care.
Take care.